Today on Corporals Corner, we're doing one-hand bow drill techniques, so stick around. Alright, the first thing should be obvious. You need to have a complete set consisting of a bow, a spindle or drill, a socket, or sometimes referred to as a bearing block, a fireboard or hearth, some sort of ember catch, and some way to keep your whole entire set up off the ground. Now, the whole purpose of today's exercise is to do this using one hand to simulate an injury. So I'm going to show you that right now. Alright, now what I've already done is I went ahead and seated my drill and I carved my notch. And the reason why I did this is because I don't want to promote bad knife techniques on YouTube. Because in order to do this with one hand, unless you only have one hand and you're practiced with it, it's a recipe for disaster, you know, and it just promotes wrong technique and a high possibility of injury. So I don't even want to go there. However you choose to do this with one hand, by all means go for it. Alright? But I'm not going to show you that and then have somebody say, well, Corporal said negative. Carve it however you want to carve it with one hand. Alright, now let's get started. The way I do this, take your boot off and simply take your bow, wedge it between your toes, like so, like you got monkey feet. Alright? And then what you want to do is place the other end on the ground or on your blanket and then just secure it with your foot. Alright? This keeps it from moving. Then taking your good hand, your spindle or drill, and simply, like you're going to stabbing motion, down and away, and it should lock. There you go. And then I just roll it to the bottom, like so. Alright, the next thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and secure this board from moving, or the possibility of moving. So you can put rocks on either end, here and here, or in this case I'm just going to put two branches down here, or sticks. I'm going to place my knees on them to apply pressure to keep that board down. That way it doesn't lift or twist on me. And then I'll take it a step further and place the third one across the back end here, perpendicular. And place my knees on it. This should secure it down and keep it from moving. It's not going anywhere. Alright, now lastly, simply place your bearing block or socket between your teeth. Alright, option number 2 for a one-hand bow drill. Preferably in optimum, your set's already been carved, your notch has already been carved, and you've already seated your drill. Now, once again, just like the first time, carve it however you want to carve it using one hand, whatever you think is safe. Alright, let's get started. You want to take your socket or bearing block, you want to wedge it underneath your knee and squeeze it like so, because you're going to use your leg to apply the downward pressure and stability while using your good hand to apply the speed. Now, real quick before I forget here, this one here is enlarged and it's rounded. If you can make a square one, that works best. This will still work, but I'm going to have to fight with it a little bit. Now, look at the size of the spindle. It's almost double the size, thickness, and twice the length. The reason why is because look at my knee, how high up it is. I need that extra length so I can squeeze the socket while pushing downward. There we go. I think I got it. Now I'm going to adjust this camera real quick. Now the last thing you want to do is you want to utilize your other leg, place it onto the board to add stability, kind of like how you would if you were using the floating hand technique or using the hand drill. Now let's get started. Back. That was pretty good to go. Now the whole purpose of this video was to show fire by friction using a simulated injury or the loss of a limb. Now, common sense, if you're doing fire by friction with one hand, you've already messed up somewhere. You should have a lighter, a road flare, a ferro rod, etc. Even matches, something to make it easier. Let's just say, for hypothetically, you do not. I wanted to show different methods for fire by friction, and that was the point of the video. Now let's talk about two quick things here. On option 1, we talked about the small bearing block. You want to make sure it fits in your mouth and is held together by our top and bottom molars. I think I mentioned teeth in the video. I should have said molars. You don't want to put any pressure on your teeth in the top and bottom, especially if you had braces or any type of surgeries, or you have gum disease, or you have sensitive teeth or gums. You could actually cause damage. So try to get it between your molars and it should work out great. Now, in option 2, we talked about the oversized spindle, and the reason for this was because the distance of your knee to the ground or your hearthboard was greater than it normally is. So you needed something that's twice as long and probably a little bit twice as thick, and that'll work out great. The last thing I want to talk about is the oversized socket. Now, you notice on this one, as I said before, this side's rounded and that side was square. Try to make them both square. That way your muscles in your leg will grab onto it and hold it in place, and it will work out. You have more control that way. Now there's a common thread for both these options, 1 and 2, and that is knife safety. And that's why I did not show anything on here how to carve with one hand, because it's awkward for me and I don't want to promote bad habits. If you're comfortable doing that with one hand, please do it. If you only have one hand and you do it all the time, that's great. Then you know what you're doing. So just be very careful about what you're doing and always be, cognitive of knife safety. The last thing I want to talk about, it's common thread with all this, is a type of wood. Now, all soft woods are great. You know, willow, poplar, cotton, what else? Palm, yucca, all that, even seep willow, all of that works great for these two methods. I have not tried this with hardwoods for the obvious reason of putting that in my mouth. I don't want to cause damage, and it'd just be a lot harder to do. So try to use the soft wood with knife safety, and it should work out great. So, hope you all learned something today. With that, catch you all next time.